We've talked about a lot of players who could make the Orlando Magic the next Eastern Conference champions. There's one we haven't talked enough about. Let's give him his due today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 27th. It will be August 28th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about a player who we are not talking enough about, a player who's due for a bounce back, a player who is vital to everything the Orlando Magic do, the X factor, if you will. It's Wendell Carter. The agenda is still alive, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about Wendell Carter and what he brings to the table this season, why he could be a turning point for the Magic. We'll get to that. Plus, Germany defeats Montenegro in a rout, why Germany is the Orlando Magic. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Make Locked On Magic part of your day every day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. You listen 5 days a week. Get in the habit now. Subscribe now. The season's coming. We're going to be all hands on deck, all wheels forward, all gas, no brakes, all that stuff. We're going to be going all out this season with so much on the line for the Orlando Magic. You can check it out wherever you download podcasts, Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. There are still a lot of things unknown about the Orlando Magic. We're very optimistic. We very much think there's going to be a big step forward this year. I don't think anyone's going crazy over that or anyone's like doubting that. You look on ESPN, you got the Magic finishing third, their first 50-win season since 2011, excuse me. There is every reason to believe that this team can bring all those pieces together, can bring everything together in a way that we have not seen from the Orlando Magic in a very, very long time. We know that Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are all-star level players. We know that Desmond Bane could be a third all-star. He has the talent and the ability to do so. We know that Jalen Suggs is a game-changing defensive player. We've talked about the potential of this bench. For whatever you want to say about Jonathan Isaac and his inconsistency with his minutes and his availability, when he is on, he is one of the absolute best defenders in this league. That is undoubted. And even last year, you could say he had a down year, but if you look at all his stats, he was still one of the best defenders in the league. It just wasn't Jonathan Isaac defense. It wasn't to his standard. We can look at Anthony Black, a player who has unlimited potential still and could be a huge turning point for this team and for how this team continues to develop, especially as they navigate the aprons and the salary cap and all that stuff. Anthony Black is still a vital piece of this puzzle that we don't yet know. But I think one of the big X factors for this season, one of the guys that could really hold this team together and be this missing piece, is a guy that often gets forgotten. It's a player who frankly, fans have been a little shaky on and might be ready to give up on. I still think Wendell Carter is a huge piece of the puzzle for the Orlando Magic. I think Wendell Carter and how he plays could very well determine just how good this Magic team is. Because at the end of the day, when you get to the playoffs, it's about limiting weaknesses. The guy that you attack, the player that you think you want to let get going is the player that ultimately burns you. And yes, Wendell Carter is going to win the Magic a playoff game. Wendell Carter, he's never going to be the leading scorer, but his play could determine whether the Magic go from a very nice team to a Eastern Conference Finals contender to a potential championship contender. And all the pieces are there. Now, if you've listened to this show, you know I'm a bit of a Wendell Carter defender. I think Wendell Carter gets unnecessary hate, and I think people tend to put a lot of the blame and a lot of, there's every team has a scapegoat, and Wendell Carter became that, especially with the stats that Goga Bitadze was putting up and the highlights that Goga Bitadze puts up. But frankly, what makes Wendell Carter so special, what I think makes Wendell Carter such an interesting player, is that his success and his effectiveness isn't dependent on those stats. He doesn't need to average a double-double. He can. I think he will get his share of double-doubles this year. But that's not where his effectiveness is. Wendell Carter, as we saw in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics, is the keystone. I remember reading the Da Vinci Code. They talk about how churches are built and all that stuff. The arch has a stone that holds the whole thing up. Wendell Carter may not be that important, but I'll tell you this. The Magic's defense falls apart without Wendell Carter and everything he can do. Why do the Magic trust Wendell Carter over Goga Bitadze? It's because Wendell Carter's in the right spots every time. It's because Wendell Carter is comfortable and confident enough to step out and try to defend Jaylen Brown on an island. It allows the Magic to switch and put that arrow in their quiver. Wendell Carter's versatility is as much the defining feature of this Magic team and their defense as anything else. And that's why he matters. The Magic do not have a prayer against the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, and maybe they didn't anyway because of their offensive shortcomings, but the Magic were able to drag that series into the mud with them because Boston couldn't get any threes. And Boston couldn't get any threes because the Magic just said, we'll switch. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, make your mid-range jumpers. They made them. That bet didn't pay off. The Magic obviously didn't have the offense to keep up. And when the Magic went through long stretches of missing shots, or they went through their turnovers, which they have to continue to reduce, that's when Boston was able to get their threes, and the Magic could not match Boston's firepower in the playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Wendell Carter could shoot 23.4% from three again. If the Magic are going to be successful, the Magic probably need Wendell Carter to shoot 35% from three more than they need Franz Wagner to shoot 35% from three. And so I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Last year was a bad offensive season for Wendell Carter. 9.1 points per game. First time in his career he's averaged fewer than 10 points per game. Shot 46% from the floor. Overall, that is a career low. Shot 23.4% from three. The worst that he shot since he joined the Magic. Wendell Carter's got to be an option on offense. He's got to be an outlet. And again, even that, I think, is a benefit for him. Because with the better spacing this team has, and Magic do need Wendell Carter to be a threat from deep so they can roll him, so they can pop him and leave the paint open for drives and have that outlet to kick out to. If Wendell Carter can get back to shooting 37.4% like he did in 2024, only on 3.1 attempts, but still 35.6% on 3.9 attempts per game. If Wendell Carter gets 3 attempts per game and he makes 1 and has occasional games where he goes 2 for 4, 2 for 5, that's going to be enough to warp the defense just a little bit. And with how good Franz Wagner is, how good Paolo Banchero is, how good Desmond Bane is at driving and getting to the basket, that could be enough. Wendell Carter is capable of doing all that. So yes, the defense locks everyone into place. Yes, his defense makes everything else make sense and allows the Magic to mix things up, to change their coverages, to confuse and bewilder and pressure opponents. Wendell Carter is even one of the best post defenders in the league very, very quietly. Defends Nikola Jokic as well as any center in the league. Wendell Carter is a big body who gets to his spot early, is tough to move, isn't going to chase blocks, and can gobble up rebounds, or frankly, forget gobbling up rebounds, clear the way for others to rebound. Box out the best rebounder so they don't get the rebound, and your team does. It's the reason why the Magic were one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the league last year, And it's not because Wendell Carter gobbles up rebounds, it's because he sets others up. And that skill on a team with 4 fairly high usage players. Paolo's going to be high usage. Franz going to be high usage. Bane's going to get his shots up. Suggs is going to get his shots up. In a starting lineup with so many guys who need the ball, having someone who just greases the wheel and makes everything else work, that's going to be vital. And all Wendell Carter has to do is do enough to keep defenses honest. I've said this before, and I truly believe it. The fact that Wendell Carter's role is smaller is going to benefit him. It's going to make his life easier. It's going to allow him to focus on the things he's good at and keep his role simple. And I think we're due for a very good Wendell Carter season. Like 10, 11, 12 points per game. Nothing crazy. 8, 9 rebounds per game. And perhaps, I'm not going to go this far because he's not going to have the blocks to get there. But certainly an all defensive caliber season, I think is not crazy to say. EuroBasket has begun and Germany is on the board. How Germany defeated Montenegro and why Germany is simply magic. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by my friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. So it's always with you. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. With Monarch, you can maximize investments, increase your savings rates, easily review finances with your partner or financial advisor, keep a clear view of your financial health with week-to-week and long-term management. It gives you power and control to view your finances from a bird's eye view. So, when you're spending too much on entertainment or food or anything else, and get your money under control. That's all you ask for. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. Before we get to Germany's EuroBasket opener, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. There's a QR code down here if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for helping us out. Germany has opened up its EuroBasket. We're going to get to Franz Wagner. I'll talk a little bit more about Franz Wagner. It's for a big scoring game from Franz Wagner. Very straightforward game for him. So I want to talk about something a little bit more global. And a little bit more why I have been drawn to this Germany team and really fascinated by what Germany is doing in this tournament and why I think this is a really good sign, a really clear vision for who the Orlando Magic are going to be. Now, I want to preface this by saying, Germany does not have a Paolo Banchero. They have a Franz Wagner, and Franz Wagner is very good in doing some Paolo-ish things. He's being a little Paolo-y during this tournament so far. But there isn't a one-to-one comparison here. But honestly, when I watch Germany play, I see a lot of the Orlando Magic in them. And obviously, there is a little bit of influence. Franz is on the team. Tristan Silva's on the team. Mo would be on the team if he were healthy. Brett Brielmaier was on the coaching staff the last 3 years. This year, Randy Gregory's on the coaching staff. The Magic have their hands in Germany and in this German national team. Now, having said that, Alex Mumbrou, who did not coach, was not present for Wednesday's game, but is the coach for Germany. Alex Mumbrou is a very accomplished coach. He is a very well-respected coach in EuroBasket circle, in Euro Cup circles, EuroLeague circles. This is not this is an awesome thing that Franz is being coached by Alex Mumbrou, and he's going to give him some new ideas. And we are indeed seeing Mumbrou try and use Franz in some very different ways, in some intriguing ways. I've been really intrigued with the post-up development. I've been very intrigued with Franz as a roller in pick and rolls. I usually use Franz in a pick and roll to try and as a roller, as a screener, to set him up with deep post position because he just rolls and seals. It's been fascinating to watch. If you're able to watch these games, I know they're only available on Courtside 1891, which is a okay app. If you watch these games, just watch how Franz interacts as this screener. Now, obviously, like, Franz is still getting his on-ball reps, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this German team plays very much like the Magic, and frankly is showing signs of how the Magic need to play. Let me give an example. Germany this year is small, and I think it's going to be one of the big weaknesses for them and one of the big things that they have to overcome. Early in the game, Nikola Vucevic was gobbling up rebounds. I believe he had 5 or 6 rebounds in the first quarter. They were giving up a lot of offensive rebounds. Rebounding is going to be an issue, and in EuroBasket, that could be deadly. If you think about EuroBasket, Alperen Şengün's on Turkey, Kristaps Porzingis on Latvia, Jonas Valanciunas, who they'll play in group play on Lithuania, Nikola Jokic on Serbia. This is a Nikola Vucevic, Goga Bitadze, Georgi Smaradini. This is a big tournament. This is a tournament for bigs and post players and size. And look, Germany has versatile size. They got wing depth. They got wing size. They don't have centers. And so the way that Germany is trying to counteract their lack of size, and look, they got Daniel Tice. Tice is solid, but he's starting to look a little long in the tooth. He's definitely lost a step here and there. The way Germany's counteracting this is 2 things. They're using their superior guard depth and athleticism, whether it's Franz, whether it's Schroeder, whether it's Mauro Low, whether it's Andreas Obst, whether it's Isaac Bonga, whether it's Tristan Silva, whether it's Johannes Voigtman, Johannes Thiemann, all those guys. They're using their versatility to pressure, to get into players, to blitz ball screens, and make it harder to get the ball into bigs. Now, in Wednesday's game, that led to some trouble. Franz was stuck on Nikola Vucevic a few times. Some guards were stuck on Nikola Vucevic a few times. That is the risk of switching. And if you remember during the playoff series, the Magic essentially switched everything and dared Boston to settle for Kristaps Porzingis shooting over Corey Joseph. Kristaps Porzingis was a big factor in that series, if you remember. And frankly, game 4, when Boston kind of figured it out, was just like, oh, this is it. They've stopped being stubborn, and now they're going to attack this, and the Magic are going to have to figure it out. The Magic, that's how you jump games up. Germany has been very determined to pressure the ball in this way. And then they want to do something that the Magic don't do, and something that the Magic have to do more of. They get out and run. They get out in transition and try to use that athleticism back. If they're going to push the pace, or if they're going to create turnovers, they're going to push the pace right back at them. And of course, that is where we see like Franz Wagner out in transition, using his footwork, using those Euro steps, just eating up space. On top of this, Germany is trying, under Mumbrou, is trying very hard to play faster. If you watch them in the half court, and again, if you can, or the games on Courtside 1891, ESPN did not pick up EuroBasket this year, did not renew their deal with FIBA, which is very frustrating, but it is what it is. Germany is trying to get into their sets quicker. There's a lot more passing, a lot more player movement, a lot more kind of flowing right into pick and rolls, a lot more secondary transition. And this is an element the Magic need to do more of. This is an element the Magic have to add more into their offense and into their offensive system. Getting Jalen Suggs back is going to help. Jalen Suggs is a player who is determined to push the pace. I think that will help. I don't think the Magic are going to be like the fastest team in the league, but they'll play quicker. Having better spacing with Desmond Bane is going to help too. But having said that, like in the exhibition games, Germany will sometimes stall out. They'll sometimes hit a wall, and you can clearly see they're still getting used to what their coaching staff is asking of them. But this is the thing. This is how the Magic want to play. This is kind of like not the same roster, obviously, but Andreas Obst is no different than Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane's a better player, in fact. Naudo Low is a spark plug in the same way that Jalen Suggs could be an offensive spark plug. The Magic have better defenders and better athletes and better centers and Paolo Banchero, for crying out loud. Obviously, everything doesn't translate immediately over. But what I found fascinating is that Germany and the Magic have a lot of the same principles and ideas. And so putting Franz and Tristan da Silva in that environment will only make them better and only make them more prepared for the upcoming season. It will also put the Magic in a better spot, in a better place to expand their offense. And hopefully what we're seeing with Germany brings some of those ideas over, because I think it could benefit the Magic greatly. Let's talk specifically about how Franz played. 22 points for Franz in the opener. We'll get to that, plus how Germany won the game, coming up here in just a moment. So let's talk Franz Wagner. Happy birthday, Franz, by the way. Wednesday was Franz Wagner's birthday, 24 years old. We're about, one more year of him being under 25, and we can stop calling him a young player. This was a great game for Franz. Just plain and simple, a great game for Franz. Nothing special, nothing spectacular. Didn't take threes. He was 0 for 2 on threes. One was a lightly contested catch and shoot. Should have gone in. The other one was a tougher three. He took a heave. They didn't count that one, thankfully. I think that's a FIBA rule that the NBA is bringing in. Bring offensive goaltending next, please. Franz was just good. And very clearly, like, Germany sniffed out that Nikola Vucevic is not good on pick and rolls. He peaked in 2018, 2019, 2020 as a defender when, under Steve Clifford, and really figured that out. He is starting to get older, and, obviously, like, there's questions about his next contract and all that stuff. He's back to being what we saw maybe earlier in his career when the Magic really didn't know what to do with him in pick and rolls. And Germany just they were button mashing that. They were mashing that play over and over. And Franz, as we know, if you get him downhill, he is an expert at finding space. And Montenegro did not have the ability to come over and help and deter him from the basket. Franz had a lot of straight line drives at the rim. And look, he hasn't been as effective at the rim as you would like to see. He's been missing some free throws too. He was 6 for 9 from the foul line in this game. I like getting to the line 9 times. That's for 9 free throw attempts. That's really, really good. And those free throw attempts had been up in the exhibition run. To see that happen in the first EuroBasket game was also very encouraging. I'd love to see Franz average 5 free throw attempts per game last year. He was one of 30 players in the league to average 5 free throw attempts per game. I'd love to see him get to 6, 7, 8. If he could get to 7 or 8, like Paolo's at 8, 9, that's what the Magic want. They want him putting pressure on the rim. That's all Franz was doing. Every single Franz make in this game, he was 7 for 15, was a layup, was at the rim. And so, like, I had some people text me. I have some friends who are obsessed with this stuff. Ask me, like, why, how'd Franz shoot? It's like, well, he just took a bunch of layups. He didn't really shoot a bunch of jumpers this game. I had some people comment and say, like, I'm not going to really believe anything till Franz takes some jumpers. Is he only going to make layups? And I'm just like, well, layups are the highest percentage shots. Take as many of those as you can. This was just a good Franz Wagner game. Again, he did what his team needed him to do. He put pressure on the rim. That's what this game called for. He took what the defense gave him. And yeah, he could have been a little bit more effective. And I would love to have seen him make a few more free throws. Like 6 for 9 is not a great percentage for a guy who's an 80% free throw shooter. Franz was just very, very good. And, like, if this is the baseline for the rest of the tournament, look, Montenegro is probably going to advance. That is a team that has enough shooters. Nikola Vucevic is still a handful to play in these tournament settings. If this is the baseline, Franz is in a good spot. Now, there will be bigger challenges. They're not going to necessarily come in group play. The best team in their group is probably Lithuania. Finland will be an interesting challenge. I wouldn't be surprised if they put Tiemann, Johannes Tiemann on Nikola Vucevic and let Daniel Theis like kind of roam around a little bit. Wouldn't shock me if Tiemann gets a call on Markkanen when they play Finland. But like, look, Germany's going to play Sweden. Sweden's not. I know Sweden pushed Finland a little bit, so you don't want to overlook them completely. But this ain't Jonas Jerebko in Sweden. They got Pelle Larsson, who's on the Heat, but that's about it. Germany's not going to face many hurdles in this group play. Again, Germany's one of the favorites to win the tournament. But Franz was just a steady drumbeat. And you probably often heard me say that about Paolo, where just like Paolo is just a steady drumbeat. It's nothing spectacular. It's nothing crazy. He's just always there to kind of like get the team back into rhythm. And it took Germany a while to kind of find themselves. They took the lead early. They were always in control. Montenegro never really threatened them, but there was always the lead would always stay around like 8 points and then get brought down to 4. Germany led by only 4 at the half. They were missing tons of threes. It wasn't Franz. Everyone else was missing threes. And Montenegro was hitting theirs. And then in the third quarter, they just blew the game open. They won the third quarter 33-12. Andreas Obst had, I believe, 4 of his 5 3-pointers in the third quarter. Just broke the game wide open. And Montenegro didn't have a chance from there. And that's kind of who this German team is. Like they are a better shooting team and a better shooting team than what they've shown, but they've struggled with their shot. And so 3-point shooting is like the difference between Germany being very, very scary and, who's going to beat this team to, okay, we're worried about things, but they're beatable. They're still figuring some things out. And again, I think Germany's hope is that they'll use group play to kind of find their rhythm and get some more games under their belt. They play 5 of these games, so that'll be 11 total as a group. By then, I think they'd have some rhythm and be ready for knockout rounds and some stiffer competition. But Germany did the job. At the end of the day, like all they care about is they won. Germany did the job, got themselves a comfortable win, and now we see what they do against Sweden on Friday, and we'll see how they continue to develop and what Franz is able to do. Again, great game for Franz Wagner, 22 points, 7 for 15 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, 8 rebounds, was really active on the glass, just did his thing. And I think that's all you wanted to see from this kind of game. Germany took care of their business. Let's move on from there. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast enabling device. You can find us as well on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go check out this big moment for Locked On, because college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts, a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Also, be sure to check out our friends over at Locked On UCF to get you ready for UCF's game against Jacksonville State. I'll probably be listening to it on my way to the game Thursday evening. Big game for the Knights. First frost to wear your white for the Knights there. Going to be very interesting to watch UCF play. That's probably going to be why we don't have an episode tomorrow. But our next episode of Locked On Magic, we will recap the latest in EuroBasket. We'll get our first look at Goga Bitadze, because I've actually not seen him this summer because Georgia's games were not on TV. We'll talk about what's going on with Georgia, the basketball team, not the football team. We'll get to that on our next episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.